Hello everyone and welcome back to Southern Wealth. I do hope you're having a wonderful day. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. So, sorry guys. The Brics meeting is coming and there are all these rumors that they will come up with a unified currency to compete with the US dollar. For people who don't know, Brics stand for a group of countries: B, Brazil; R, Russia; I, India; C, China; S, South Africa. And the idea behind it is they would create a currency to compete with the US dollar. Why? Because you've seen what the US sanctions can do. And do you really want to be, if you do something that the US doesn't like, do you really want to be the next on the chopping block to get affected by it? So that's the idea behind it. What is the problem? Nobody trusts these countries, including themselves. They also don't trust themselves. So how can they bring trust to a currency created by them? Simple. You peg it, you make it redeemable into a commodity or a basket of commodities. What does that mean? Before 1971, if you had $35, you would go to a central bank in the US and the Fed would give you an ounce of gold. So in that context, it doesn't really matter if you believe the banks, if you believe the country, if you believe the currency. As long as you bring X amount of currency, you get your gold back, and gold has value. So that was the idea behind it, and that's what they're trying to replicate here. Now, this actually ties in with the end of cycle for the dollar as a reserve currency. So most people may not be aware, the dollar is not the first reserve currency. We had the Portuguese currency, Spanish, Dutch, British, and now the US dollar. So, and we are about the typical end of life for these currencies. And typically they lose their place because their economies become less strong. They become, too indebted. And these countries participate, including the US, participate in wars while they should be neutral as a reserve currency. Inflation kicks in, you have weak leadership in the countries. So all the things that you see nowadays already happened in the past and they seem to be repeating. Now, does that mean, because sometimes when you listen to some of these videos, it gives the impression that the world will move from the dollar into other things like tomorrow or something. No, this will take 10 to 15 years, at least, for you to see a meaningful change. For you to have an idea, about 50% of global trade is settled in US dollars. In the Chinese currency, the yuan, it's only 3%. So 3%, 50%. That is the difference of what you're talking about here. Huh? Even the euro, which is the second one, is around 15%, 1.5. So 1.5 to 50. Huge difference. And then when you look at reserves, is also a huge difference. So these things take time, okay? There's no question that the world will move away from the dollar over time. But you need to understand that these things don't happen like sometimes when you listen to the news, seems like this is happening tomorrow, or in a year. No, it's going to take 10 to 15 years. Who's going to be the most penalized? US citizens. Why? Because when the Fed prints money, half of it goes to outside the US, which means inflation is not really seen as a result of money printing, which allows us in the US to live above our means, despite the fact that we have huge trade deficits and huge budget deficits. Somehow our standard of living keeps going up without that main tax increases, and our markets, stock market, etc., also go up more than the others. So that is the benefits that we've been living in. Typically, if other country would have our trade deficits and budget deficits, their currency should have imploded by now. So that is the benefit we have. So what does that mean? That means that over time, our standard of living will need to match the decreasing importance of the dollar. So unless our productivity and our fiscal policy changes dramatically, which can compensate for the less importance of the dollar, or over time, the standard of living of the US relative to other countries will diminish. That's why this is so important. This is how you bring credibility to the Brics currency, and also by pegging it to commodities, you can no longer just print money like crazy. Why? Because since it's redeemable in commodities, that means that inflation and currency devaluation would be seen almost automatically instead of taking 2 to 5 to 10 years to manifest. So that is why this is so relevant. So thank you very much, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.